this morning at first light, it was impossible to detect the trauma which has hit the city of Kobe, once renowned for its style and its beauty. Now, down in the city centre, there's still a sense of disbelief as people wander around gazing at the devastation, even now not really able to absorb its scale or the size of the reconstruction job ahead. On the surface, people seem calm, perhaps in shock, but hazards are everywhere. Fires are proving the most immediate. This was one of 90, caused by gas explosions, fueled by dry debris and whipped up by icy winds. Astonishingly, for this sophisticated nation, we didn't see a single fireman equipped with breathing apparatus. The men were left with just the protection of fireproof scarves. It's also hard to fathom why, here in one of the most developed parts of the world, firemen are slowed down because the water supply's been cut off, and they have to pump up supplies from the rivers below. The injured are still being brought to hospital, many with critical wounds. Inside, the scene is reminiscent of a Third World War zone. The wards are desperately overstretched. There are nothing like enough beds to go round. This is the Higashi Kobe Hospital. It's only midday and already 600 new patients have arrived. Water and food, says the chief administrator. Those are the real essentials, and we are desperately short. More than 21,000 buildings have been destroyed or badly damaged, the majority older wooden structures like this one. This morning, Megumi Hamada and her family came to try and salvage as much as they could from the rubble, which had once been their home. Megumi had been cooking on the ground floor when the earthquake struck, and her house collapsed on top of her. Her children, who escaped from the floor above, tried to help her, but found her leg trapped by a beam. Eventually, though, they did bring her out. Today there were no tears from Megumi or anyone else in the family, though they've all lost so much. Instead, a calm acceptance astonishing to anyone from the West.
It's not only me suffering from this earthquake, everybody is suffering, so I'm trying to be optimistic about life. The first thing I have to do is just to get out of this place and find a new place to live. After I sort myself out, I can bring my family back together.
While Megumi was trying to recover her possessions, civil defence workers arrived to see if someone else might be buried beneath the house. Across the road, they were trying to discover what had happened to the family who once lived here. One neighbour told them he thought a woman had been killed, but had no idea whether her husband and son were with her. The problems faced by the civil defence with no heat-detecting equipment are overwhelming. In the 2 hours we spent watching them, they found nothing with their spades or bare hands, and by the time we left, heavy lifting equipment had arrived, but the crane operator said he was standing by, waiting for further orders. This area, known as Nada-ku, is amongst the most wrecked in Kobe. What on Monday were smart streets in a middle-class district now resembles scenes from a full-scale war. It's almost impossible to believe that until 3 days ago, this devastated area was home to 100 families. But fire broke out in the newsagents which was here, and it spread so quickly that many of those who'd survived the earthquake were burnt to death. As darkness fell, the streets were scattered with small groups, huddled together trying to keep out the bitter cold. Nearly 72 hours after the earthquake, in this, the world's most technologically developed country, like Toshi-Onishi, more than 10% of the population here are homeless. Hundreds of thousands more have little food and no water, electricity or gas. The outside world may be inclined to judge Japan for failing to be adequately prepared, but this natural disaster was on such a scale, it's doubtful any amount of advance work would have prevented great suffering. Liz Donnelly, Channel 4 News, Kobe.